O'Brien, welcome back to school. And could you just share with us some of your fondest memories from your school days?
Thank you. Mr. Mayor hasn't given me any advance warning of these questions, so it's an exam. So happiest memories from my school days. I really loved school. I went to a state school in rural Oxfordshire, all the way through to sixth form, and I had a very close group of friends, and I was very, very involved in music. So my happiest memories involve singing in really big choirs. I'm not a great singer, but I love being a part of something where everybody's kind of pulling in the same direction. So I think my happiest memories are singing and doing music. But I also really loved my lessons. I studied English literature at university in the end because I just loved to read, and I got the reading bug when I was quite young, and I just plowed through hundreds of novels and poems and plays. And I used to set myself, I was so stupid, I used to set myself targets of 100 pages a day of a Dickens novel, because otherwise I don't know if you've seen these big fat novels, but you don't get through them unless you make yourself read a lot. But through sort of, I don't know, just setting myself some goals, I actually just really fell in love with language and literature and what the power of language in society and how you can use it in so many different ways. And it's sort of stayed with me ever since. So I'm still in touch with my school. I will never forget my school days, and I loved my school.
Great memories to reflect on, and you will be in that position as well when you reflect on your time here, when you move on. And reading is very high on the agenda here. We have a desire to see every student in Grace College, so all 1,300 signed up to the local library, and that's what we're working on at present. And we have a really dynamic reading program, which is going to get even bigger next academic year. So reading is a big thing for us here, but also we've really enjoyed this academic year revitalizing the co-curricular program. And so students, maybe you just want to think about the good things that you really enjoy about school, those clubs that you attend. We see our house banners behind us and the house system that we're all a part of. And it's so important that we take the opportunity to do those good things. And those things help us grow in character, don't they? And will help us inform our future choices. Looking forward to the future with great hope and with great expectation. So thank you, Professor O'Brien. So Dr. Mahmaood, sitting with us now are our Year 10s, our Year 11s and sixth form, all are diligently undertaking their GCSEs, their BTEC qualifications and their A-levels. If we think about your experience of that period in schooling, what advice would you like to have been given, which you could now give to the students in front of us just now?
Gave me the more difficult question. Can I have Karen's question instead? Right. Well, I have to be honest. My careers advice and guidance that I got at similar age was appalling. It really was terrible. The school did provide some careers advice and guidance. It consisted of a 10-minute conversation with an advisor. And if I'm honest, the advice wasn't particularly good or particularly tailored to me. My secondary school experience wasn't as good as Karen's described her experience. It was really poor. It was a really difficult school, and there were a lot of challenges there. So the advice and guidance I actually got was from a Christian missionary who lived across the road from me in a very poor inner city area of Manchester. And his name was Giles Hayworth. And Mr. Giles, we used to call him, and he still lives there. And one day my mum walked across the road to show him a school report that had gone to her directly rather than through me. And when he read that report, he said, actually, whilst he gets into a lot of trouble, he's actually quite bright. You should really be thinking about pushing him into further education and higher education. And so it's Mr. Giles that connected me into a network of people that provided me with the advice and guidance. The best bit of advice I got was to do what I enjoyed doing, because if I enjoyed doing it, I'd be good at it and I'd be doing it for a long time. And that really stayed with me. And so what I really enjoyed doing was finding out what makes things tick. I used to take things apart and put them back together so I could understand them better and see if I could reconfigure them and do them in different ways to make it better. And so I went into science on the back of that. So that was a great bit of advice from Mr. Giles.
Thank you for your advice today. And that's a recurring theme. Mr. Ogborn and I spoke to you before Professor O'Brien and Dr. Mahmaood came in, and the importance of looking at things that we enjoy doing and how we can really get fulfillment out of that and also pursue that at higher education and in our careers. So Professor O'Brien, looking to the future is just so important, isn't it? But for some, thinking about the future is quite daunting and can be worrying, as there's so much to consider and there's so much to do. And perhaps maybe there's some students here today who feel a little bit like that. What words of encouragement would you give a student who is not too sure what they want to do next?
That's very difficult because often I think the world sort of assumes that you know, and you know what your strengths are and your gifts are and your passion and your you know, if this were an American university, a school, we'd be saying follow your dream, but actually we don't all know what our dream is going to be. I think I've never had any kind of a career plan. I think what I would say is very similar to what Shahid would say, which is there are things that you know you're good at, things that you enjoy doing. Take it in small steps. I think if you look at the very distant horizon, somehow the clouds seem to come down and it just seems unbearably complicated and far off. And for me, in my life, 1 or 2 years ahead has always been enough, just to take those steps in not an overplanned way, but to commit to doing something as well as I can do it, and to focus as much as I can, and to be sure that I'm enjoying what I'm doing. I do think enjoyment is part of what makes it possible to succeed and achieve, and constantly plugging away at things that you hate is very difficult, isn't it? So I think for me, it's just about taking small steps, but making commitment to those steps and not always looking miles down the track. So, I mean, to give you an example, I'm someone with a humanities background, and we were just talking with sixth formers who are thinking of doing all kinds of subjects, including English and history, and not everything that you'll love and are good at has an obvious career path, but actually we know from everybody that we've met in life that you can succeed on the basis of almost anything that you follow that you're good at and committed to. And I think just worrying too much about things being vocational and what career is that going to get you into is not necessarily the best way to succeed. And I think it's just so important to take things in small steps and to follow the strengths and the interests that you have.
Really great advice there. Something for us all to consider as we think about our futures, as we come back next academic year, and we look at the new opportunities that are ahead of us as we continue to make excellent progress, as we continue to grow in character, as we ultimately strive to achieve that personal best. Dr. Mahmaood, Durham is a fantastic university, and I say that as a graduate, but Durham has an international reputation. It's a great setting to learn, and it's a great setting to grow. It's one of our closest offers for higher education. We can easily get a bus to Durham. We can jump on the metro and go to Central Station, and within 15 minutes from Central Station, we can be in the city of Durham. Please can you tell us a little bit about Durham, and what are the courses that Durham is well known for?
Let me tell you a little bit about Durham, and the professor here might be better speaking about the courses. But for me, and one of the reasons I wanted to come to Durham was that everybody I talked to about Durham always spoke very highly of it. I mean, the reputation of Durham goes well beyond Durham itself, not just as a university, but also as a place, as a city, that people do feel welcome. It's a compassionate city based on faith. Or it's got a long history of faith. So there's a real energy that's and a getting together and a sense of belonging in Durham that is fantastic. So people feel at home very, very quickly in it, whereas I've often lived in big cities and it can feel a little bit isolating at times because everything's moving so quickly. So Durham, to me, is something that I genuinely feel, I've only been there since mid-February. I feel like I've been there for a lot longer because I've got to know people and places really well.
There's a saying among students about the Durham bubble, isn't there? And because it's such a tight-knit community, you could live in Newcastle, as I did, and you could go to Durham, which is just half an hour car drive down the road, and you could easily not return all term. It's such a fantastic community to be, so many opportunities there. And as you say, such a lovely place to live and to learn.
And because the university community is also broken down into smaller communities in colleges, all of whom have their own specific identity, all of them who are very welcoming of the students and nurturing of the students, there's a really collegiate environment within a college where people get on with each other and support each other mutually.
Yeah. And in terms of the courses, Professor O'Brien.
So there's courses for just about any interest at all. So whether you're interested in computer science or English or history or geography or environmental sciences, there's an enormous amount we do around engineering, energy, renewable energy, sustainability. That's a really, really big theme at Durham, and lots of our students, that's so very important to them, and it's in lots of our degrees, whether it's maths, whether it's physics, chemistry. There's just the whole range. The only thing we don't have a medical school. So if you want to do medicine, you might want to think about a different university, because that's not for us. But we do biosciences, so we train a lot of people who do the science that sits behind medicine, for example. That's really important, and some of them subsequently go on to do medical degrees. So it's the whole range. And then alongside that, we're really great at sport. We are one of the one or two top universities in the country for sport, and we have fantastic sporting facilities. We make those available to the whole community, and there's an awful lot that sits alongside the academics of this sport. There's music, there's drama, there's a lot of volunteering. Students are very big on volunteering, student enterprise. It's very, very active and lively, and I think that explains, Mr. Mayor, why students sometimes stay inside the bubble. They're so busy inside the bubble that they don't necessarily have time to do other things. But a lot of our students like a good Saturday night out in Newcastle as well, obviously. So there's always that on the doorstep.
Thank you for those thoughts. So Year 11, who've just left, our old Year 11, played their County Cup final at Maiden Castle. And so some students here will have been on the bus who went and supported them. And that was a fantastic occasion. And so we've certainly experienced the first-class sporting facilities of Durham very recently. Some of you will be a part of the Young Persons Programme, or will be a part. Can I have a show of hands if you have been or are a part of the Young Persons Programme? Yeah, we've got some hands up. And that's an excellent opportunity to grow and to learn new skills and to actually visit the university and to work with some of those student volunteers that Professor O'Brien has mentioned. So if you get an opportunity to be part of the Young Persons Programme, please do take that opportunity, because it'll be a fantastic opportunity for you to learn more about yourself, to look more to the future, and visit Durham University and to see what it's all about. Now, Professor O'Brien and Dr. Mahmaood, on your seats you have a little card, and this is the core virtues card of the Emmanuel Schools Foundation. Grace College is one of 6 schools, and on the back page of that we have our core virtues. How many core virtues do we have? 7. Great. We have 7 core virtues, and you see them on the banner behind me now. I wonder if you could just have a look at those 7 core virtues. Which virtue stands out to you most in your life and your work at the moment? And why is that? I'll give you a moment to consider, because we are a school of character where we believe that every single person here, everybody out there and beyond, is valued, challenged, and inspired. And these core virtues are the good habits that we want to see you demonstrate and live out each and every day through the curriculum, through the co-curriculum, through everything that we do outside with our friends and our families. These are virtues that we want to see you live out positively and making a difference as people of good character here and beyond. So, core virtue, which one springs out to you, Professor O'Brien?
Does he always do this? He sets you tests the whole time. Well, I'm going to go for wisdom, because I think all of the other virtues in a way sit under wisdom. If you have the wisdom to be self-aware and to be determined to develop good judgment and understand the world around you, and not just listen to what other people say and not just listen to what the media say and what social media says. I think in this age, in a social media age, wisdom is a really hard thing, because everything else is knocking on the door against being wise. It's hearing opinion, it's hearing anger, it's hearing snap judgments. And so wisdom is a really hard one in these times. And for me, everything else sits underneath that. So I'm going to say wisdom.
Thank you, Professor O'Brien. Dr. Mahmaood.
Gosh, it's really hard picking one, isn't it? I'm going to go with integrity. I think the environment that we're all living in at the moment requires leadership at the highest levels that aligns and subscribes to integrity. And when I look at the people who've influenced my approach to life, my approach to leadership and managing teams, integrity's been fundamental to that. So.
Thank you so much for those thoughts. Would you please show your appreciation for the Vice-Chancellor and the Pro-Vice-Chancellor of Durham University?